What did I say that one episode? It was like putting on chapstick, and I was like, would you morph me? I'd morph or something like that. I'd morph me hard.
The
Fuck, I'm
that
at that age where I regularly just have fucking chappy lips all fucking winter.
I've been dealing with it for since
Who
my
would have thought that that would
late
be my
20s
old?
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who would have thought that that was? I need to start worrying about humidity. That would be my old age marker when I start to fucking a dehumidifier in the summer and a humidifier in the winter.
Back in my day, we didn't have no damn humidity.
Back in my day, humidity didn't even exist.
And
That's my
now,
favorite. Autistic people didn't exist in my day. Now, if you excuse me, after dinner, I have my 4 hours of train models to get to.
nowadays, it seems like everyone's got humidity and they're just all trying to shove it in your face.
Lazor Comb.
We are not going to panic.
What the heck even happened to you, man?
Vengeance.
Shrimp Daddy! Ha 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 ha!
Give him a hockey stick!
What am I, fucking magician, man?
Am I some kind of fucking magician, man?
Fucking nerd!
Whatever. It's not like we're professionals anyway.
And I'm not sorry anymore.
Time to bake brain.
Every day, yes.
What is the airwolf of trains?
Good evening, top cows. Welcome to episode 119 of the Lazor Comb podcast, the show where we comb through random episodes of classic TV with a fine-tooth laser. I am, as always, one of your hosts, Witchblade.
And I am your other host, Cal Blade.
This week on the Lazor Comb podcast, we're continuing on with Image Comics month. This one was, unlike the others, this one wasn't a Patreon pitch. This is one I just wanted to tack on to at the end because it's based on a comic book I was very, very, very fond of in my younger days. And it's a little show called Witchblade.
The anime?
No, that's next week. Spoilers.
Oh, shit.
No, this is the 2001 TNT series Witchblade, starring Yancey Butler as Sarah Pizzini.
Those are words.
Those were words.
Some even names, actually.
Now, to give a little bit of background, Image Comics was founded, I've mentioned this on previous episodes, but just if you're new here, Image Comics was founded in the early 1990s by superstar Marvel Comics artists Todd McFarlane, Eric Larson, Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, Jim Valentino, Rob Liefeld, and one or two others.
Probably also named Jim.
Probably. They formed Image Comics because they were getting tired of the work for hire practices of Marvel Comics and not actually owning owning their own work. And Marvel Comics was like, well, too bad. That's just the way the industry is. And they're like, well, that's not good enough. And they're like, well, what are you going to do? Start your own company then? And then they're like, actually. And Marvel's
And
like,
they did.
wait, they fucking did it? Did?
Yeah, we covered Spawn.
Yeah, in order. We have covered order of release. We have covered Jim Lee's Wildcats, which was part of his Wildstorm imprint. We've covered the Max, which was, I don't think, part of a specific imprint. I think it was just I think it was just a book that was just published by Image.
Hmm.
And indeed, reprints of the Max have been, I think, published by IDW in more recent years. We did Eric Larson's The Savage Dragon. We've done Todd McFarlane Productions' Spawn. And now here we have Mark Silvestri's Top Cow Productions comic book, Witchblade. Well, show based on the comic book Witchblade. Witchblade, unlike the other, unlike Wildcat, Savage Dragon, and Spawn, Witchblade wasn't the launch title for Top Cow Productions. Their initial book was actually Cyberforce, which I've never been particularly fond of, to be perfectly honest.
It sounds familiar.
I read a lot
probably just because it has the name Cyber in it.
Probably. Couldn't really tell you a lot of. I've tried giving Cyberforce a shot a few times over the years, but couldn't tell you anything about it. I read a lot of Witchblade. As I mentioned on previous episodes, I've read a lot of Image comics in the 90s and early 2000s. Yeah, I read Witchblade, other Top Cow books I read. There was a period there in the late 90s where I was basically buying anything Top Cow put out.
Oh, so you were actually a pretty big fan.
Yeah, I was buying. I read Witchblade monthly. I read The Darkness monthly. I read.
That's right. Yeah,
Michael Turner's Fathom. They had a licensed comic book based on Tomb Raider that was actually pretty good. I read that. They even published a one-shot Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver comic book.
I do know about that, mostly because I could never find it.
I had a physical copy of it for many years, but it disappeared at some point along the way. One of many times I've relocated to new cities. As is tradition. Things always get lost.
Childhood and young adult things go missing.
Yeah. Such as the way.
So you had read it. Let me tell you what my familiarity with Witchblade is. I only know it existed because it was one of the original Thirst Trap cosplays.
Oh yes.
And I'd be like, hey, who's this half naked like chick with like metallic claws and like red hair?
No, she's brunette.
That's my experience with Witchblade. Oh, and this episode.
Yeah, I read Witchblade all the way, I think, to like issue 60.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. I read it for a long time. And there was a 2017 reboot of Witchblade that only lasted, I think, 18 issues. It was actually pretty good. It was. It didn't star Sarah Pizzini. It starred a new character, and it was the entire creative team were women, which I thought was interesting.
Really? Huh? Have you read that?
I have, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
you thought it was decent.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I haven't I read the issues as they were coming out, so and this was like 2017, so fair. I haven't read them since, so I couldn't really tell you a lot about them now, but I remember liking them at the time. And indeed, actually, the original run of the Witchblade book was also written by a woman, a writer named Christina Z, who I didn't know until recently. Actually, in addition to being a comic book writer, well, she would moonlight as a comic book writer, but what she actually was a music writer for Rolling Stone magazine.
Huh.
Which I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense now that there were like soundtrack CDs put out for like the Witchblade comic book.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah. The era.
Wow, so people had mood boards even back then.
Yeah.
Like vibes, like playlists, I mean.
The era
had comic playlists.
The era of the licensed soundtrack. An era that has long since ended. But let me tell you though, the 90s, it started in the 80s, but it really took off in the 90s and into like the early to mid 2000s. Licensed soundtracks for big movies were hot shit.
Take it from us. Grandpa Siege and Cal. Yeah, it was.
The licensed soundtracks CDs were hot shit back in the day, and I think the reason why they went away was because of MP3s and streaming. Because think about it, back then, when you didn't have MP3s, you didn't have streaming, you could hear songs on the radio, and if you wanted to say, like, you could go out and buy, like, 10 CD full albums by 10 different artists and listen to maybe like one or two songs on the CD, because that's all you end up liking, basically what you've heard on the radio. Or, let me tell you this, you could do that, or you could buy one CD that has Metallica, Limp Bizkit, Rob Zombie, Foo Fighters, Butthole Surfers, all on the same album. And that's why I bought the fucking Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack when I was 16.
Hell yeah. Hey, there's a reason, like, fucking Much Music's
Big Shiny Tunes.
Big Shiny Tunes.
And Much Dance.
Much Dance. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah. We're so popular.
Yeah.
Man, Big Shiny Tunes. I knew that we had like up to like 5. It must go into way beyond that, but that's just
14.
what we had. Holy shit, 14.
Yeah, I looked it up a while back. It went up to 14. I think the last one that I bought was Big Shiny Tunes 5, because after that I got into metal. I got like more seriously into metal, and that's pretty much all I was listening to. Anyway, Witchblade. Yeah.
This Blade.
This Blade.
I'm
Big
only
fan.
gonna make that joke once. I'm sorry.
Big fan of the comic. Witchblade is about New York City homicide detective Sarah Pizzini, who becomes the latest bearer of a ancient mystical weapon known as the Witchblade. The Witchblade is sentient. It's actually not too unlike the Venom symbiote, honestly, in Marvel Comics. The Witchblade is sentient. It picks a house.
That's what I got from the comic and anime art. That it's almost like a symbiote, but that's not what I got. Are you talking about the comic or the TV show right now?
I'm talking about the comic.
Oh, okay. Continue.
So, yeah, it's not unlike the Venom symbiote in the Marvel universe, where the Witchblade is sentient, it chooses a host, it bonds to them, and it is extremely difficult to separate the two. Its sentience is a little less overt than a symbiote, but it definitely is sentient and it has consciousness. And it's
less overt, like there's not literally a voice talking to you.
But it does have influence over its host's behavior.
Oh my God. Okay, that's actually intriguing.
And to get even more into the comic book's lore, the Witchblade is the part of the ancient trinity of powers that in the universe that go back to the dawn of time, which is the Witchblade, the Angelus, and the Darkness.
And those are 3.
They are 3
entities.
They are 3. They're all sentient entities, yes, but they are ancient powers that go back basically to the dawn of time. And
is the video game The Darkness based on that?
Yep.
So it is.
Yep.
Okay. I was very sure it was, because I remember you were actually like one of the only people I know that actually played the game.
I played both of them.
I always forget that there's.
And I'll tell you why. It's because I used to read The Darkness, and so when the game was announced, I was like, "Fuck yeah!"
Hell yeah!
Great. And from the developers of the Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay, sign me up. And indeed, that first Darkness game's pretty good.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I never ended up playing. And then on YouTube, I see like retrospective, like long form content where like somebody spends an hour explaining like why the game was like ahead of its time or why it's like still worth playing and like all of that. And I'm like, damn, sounds like I missed out.
Now, in the Darkness, especially in the video game, the power is a voice, literal voice in his head. The voice in the game was actually voiced by Mike Patton of Faith No More.
That's right. I remember that being like a big deal on I don't know about the covers, but I remember reading that somewhere. about the game.
Yeah, and indeed, he gets a prestige credit in the opening credits of the game.
Nice.
Yeah,
And what were they? There's the Darkness, the Witchblade,
and the Angelus.
and the Angelus.
The Darkness is evil. The Witchblade is kind of chaotic neutral, and the Angelus is divine good.
We're using video game alignments. Or sorry, Dungeons and Dragons, and my brain is melting. Dungeons and Dragons alignment here. Okay, so interesting. So the Witchblade isn't even like the paladin-y one. It's not the good guy one.
No.
Oh, that makes a lot more. That's interesting. And these are like immortal, like entities, and they need to attach to a host.
Yeah, they need to attach
in the
to
comics,
a host. And
does it take a physical form, or is it just hidden?
No, it takes a physical form. The armor, for video watchers, I have a picture from the comics of Sarah Pizzini.
Mm-hmm.
The armor is the Witchblade.
Yeah. Oh, I meant like when it's like hiding, like Venom can turn into clothes or like whatever. And in the TV show, it's a bracelet.
Which she takes off very cavalierly, which is not a thing.
All
that
the
she can do
time,
in the
actually.
comics. Yeah.
All the time. She even tries to get rid of it. Doesn't try too hard. Like, I'm like, bitch, you could just put it on the ground and it will disappear in like 10 minutes.
I remember there was one issue of the comic where she was like actually contemplating chopping her hand off to get rid of the thing.
Now, does it, when she's not in her half naked like armor form,
it does retract.
It
does retract into a bracelet with a big oval gem on it that's on her wrist.
Like a thing that's there all the time, right?
But it's there all the time. And in fact, people in the comic, people would often comment that to her, "Oh, that's a weird looking watch."
Oh, interesting.
And she would usually just say something along the lines of, "Oh, it's a family heirloom."
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. People love to comment. Well, I'll save my comments for when we get into the actual episode.
The enemy of the main antagonist initially is billionaire businessman Kenneth Irons, who wants to steal the Witchblade for himself. By the way, the Witchblade has had many famous hosts over the centuries. Even in this episode, Sarah Pizzini mentions Joan of Arc. That is from the comics. Legendary pirate Anne Bonny was a host of the Witchblade. There was an anthology series that was pretty good called Tales of the Witchblade, and each issue would be about a different host throughout history.
Well, that seems fun.
Yeah.
And it's always a woman.
It has to be a woman.
Witchblade.
The Darkness can only attach itself to a man. The Witchblade can only attach itself to a woman, and the Angelus is ethereal. It doesn't actually bond to anyone. It basically just serves as like a balance between the two.
Oh, interesting. It doesn't bond to anyone.
Not that I recall. No, I could be wrong about that. It's been a long time, but or they could have changed that in the comics at somewhere along the way.
Right.
But this is how I understood it, like reading these comics like 30 years ago. That was the lore at the time.
Which was the lore at the time.
Interesting thing about the Darkness is the Darkness power is passed on. It's a generational thing. Unlike the Witchblade, which takes different hosts, the Darkness is a generational thing. On a man's 18th...
Is it still only on one person at a time?
Yeah. On a man's 18th birthday, the Darkness power manifests. And
so it would leave their parent and go down to... Oh.
The host of the Darkness cannot have sex because the minute he conceives a child with a woman, he dies immediately. And the power immediately leaves his body and goes into the infant, into the fetus.
Okay, so what if that chick has complications and has to get rid of the kid?
I don't think that has ever been addressed.
What if she has a girl?
It's
The
always
darkness makes it a boy.
yeah, it's always going to be a boy.
So I thought for a second you were going to say the moment he nuts, it shoots out of his like body. So it's like you can't even you can't even go solo.
Yeah, well, as soon as he conceives a fetus with a
Well,
woman.
wait. You said as soon as he has sex. Let's back up.
No, I said.
What
I
if
said.
you're wearing a rubber?
Well, then he probably could. No, well, what I meant is that if he ends up inadvertently like conceiving a child with her, like accidentally,
okay, on
then,
purposely or accidentally,
then he's going to
okay.
die. That's what I mean by he can't have sex. And
Okay,
indeed,
I thought it was like literally like
and
it senses when the dick is wet, and
indeed, the darkness bearer in the comics, Jackie Estacado, mob enforcer Jackie Estacado, he avoids sex entirely because he doesn't want to die, doesn't want to risk it.
selfish sons of bitches have to stay virgins in order to have magic powers.
Somehow he has a girlfriend too. She ends up getting killed eventually, but
Butt stuff, wearing protection.
anyway,
So I guess you technically don't need to stay a virgin.
it's something that Jackie just avoids in the comics.
Oh, okay.
He stays celibate because he doesn't want to risk dying.
Fair. He doesn't know the rules. I wonder if he like wakes up and has like a wet dream and he's like, no, my essence. Wow, I'm learning
Darkness and-
so much about Witchblade.
Darkness and Witchblade crossed over quite a bit. Witchblade also crossed over with that Tomb Raider comic that Top Cow published that I mentioned that was actually pretty good. Anyway, so today we are talking about, as I mentioned, the TNT live-action Witchblade series from 2001. We put it through the old random number generator and landed on the 16th episode overall, Season 2, Episode 5, Static.
Static.
Which originally aired on July 1st, Canada Day, 2002. Wonder what I was doing on Canada Day in 2002.
I was probably just playing video games as I would have been.
Oh, yeah, same. I was living with my grandparents that year, playing the original Xbox with money
probably playing Diablo 2 online
with money from my first grocery store job.
Hell yeah.
Playing Morrowind. That's what I would have been playing.
Oh, nice. I didn't play Morrowind until a little bit later, until 2003.
I got it at launch, and let me tell you why. Is because I had bought with my entire paycheck. I got a paycheck of like $100 because I was working super part-time and minimum wage was like $8 an hour back then. I spent my entire paycheck on the Spider-Man movie game. Took it and my Xbox over to a buddy's house and we played it and one night and beat it. And at the time, EB Games had a like 3-day, like if you don't like a game, you can bring it back and exchange it for another. So we played the shit out of the Spider-Man game for like 1 or 2 nights, and then I took it back to EB Games, which I think was still Electronics Boutique at the time. And I returned it and got Morrowind. And
Wow, this paycheck went a long way.
And I had a little bit of money left over because Morrowind was cheaper than the Spider-Man game. So I got this big ass like paper strategy guide that had like maps and like everything in it, which I still have to this day.
It was in the discount bin at EB Games. They didn't have a lot of PC games. It was in the collector's edition. Never heard of it before. Never heard of Elder Scrolls. And I was on a field trip and I just randomly went, oh, look at this. And I turned it around and I was like reading like little screenshots and looking. And I'm like, this looks like something I could get into. And it was one of those things where it was like the Morrowind discs were burned and like installed at each other's like houses so much that I introduced that game to like all my like friends and classmates and everything. Like everybody had Morrowind, my copy of like Morrowind on their computers.
Nice.
And so that was like
a time when you could actually do that, as long as you had the CD key.
Exactly, yeah. And then very often after installing it, you wouldn't even need like all the discs. You would just need like the copy of like disc one.
Oh, well, you could also go to like cdcracks.com.
You could get a CD key.
And you could get like you could download
it.
A no CD executable version for games.
We didn't know that shit back then.
Oh,
we're dumb.
I did. I was doing that all the time with games.
Or maybe some of us did. But wow, everybody, even people I didn't even know years later would be all like, oh yeah, like yeah, like my sister and I like played that, and like I got super obsessed, and I like made like my custom classes, and it was like this. And I'd be like, wait, like you're blah blah blah's brother, and your computer was in the living room? Yeah, that was my copy. Oh no, it wasn't. It was on our computer. My friend, if you played in that small town and you played Morrowind between 2003 and 2007, you're welcome. But anyways, I went on a wild rabbit hole here. Let's get into let's get into a different.
Let's get out our Static X CDs and start listening to.
While we're on the concept of early 2000s CDs, so. Everyone, like Siege said,
mindlessness, it's mindlessness, it's mindlessness.
That's pretty good. Season 2, episode 5, Static. Right away, the show is of its time.
Oh, yeah. I messaged Cal on Discord earlier. Immediately when I started playing the episode, I was like, hello, 2002.
Right? Oh, boy.
So
where do I even begin with this?
The episode starts with her laying on a couch with some very early 2000s like acoustic like girl rock playing in the background, and she's monologuing to herself. Is the Witchblade a part of me, or am I part of it? What is the Witchblade? Are we the same? Are we different?
I had to roll my eyes.
It was so.
And at the very end, she has like a very similar monologue. She's like, am I the Witchblade, or is the Witchblade me? Or am I going crazy even thinking that there's a difference? Dialogue like that peppers the entire fucking show, everyone.
Yeah.
Like there's some lines that stick out here and there. There's a part that actually made both of us laugh out loud. And I think we both know what part that is, because you uploaded it to the Discord.
Pending, as long as it doesn't get flagged for copyright, I'm probably going to insert that scene into the episode. So if you're watching the video version, you'll see what we're talking about. So yeah, from there we go to a hotel and some like rock star.
Well, it's showing like a rock show, right? And the rock show finishes up and he's playing at a bar or like whatever. And again, this guy's music is even very of its time. I don't know what to call this, because it's not new metal. It's not like soft rock. It's
butt rock. Let's just call it butt rock.
Like edgier than Creed, but like, I don't know what to call that. It's so ingrained in the time, but I don't really know what to call it. But yes, let us call it butt rock, right? Not quite emo, right? Like not quite there, not quite My Chemical Romance, but like you could see it's on its way there.
Yeah, I think butt rock actually refers to things like Creed and Nickelback, just very like generic, like mainstream rock music.
I would say this was a little. Actually, no, I'm giving the show too much credit. It was kind of forgettable.
Well, and indeed, I don't remember it at all, honestly.
That's why I was trying to think to defend it, and I'm like, I don't remember it. If
I
can't
don't remember
then
it at
can't
all.
defend
I vaguely remember the theme song being like kind of Rob Zombie. Sounds like it could be the instrumental of it Rob
I have
Zombie song.
it's completely out of my head. Oh, yeah, a little, actually, a little. But not quite as good. Like royalty free,
No,
like
not as good.
Rob
Yeah.
Zombie imitation band. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just the instrumentals. Buy now on Apple. Or back in then, just go to Napster.
I think Napster was already gone by this point.
Wait, no, it was gone because it got sued out the wazoo.
Go to Kazaa
Oh, there we go. Go to
Or-
Kazaa
or
Morpheus.
Soulseek.
Oh, Soulseek.
Soulseek was one that I used a lot because you could find a lot of obscure stuff on there. A lot of like underground metal.
Oh, okay. That's what the metalheads used.
Soulseek's still
And-
around, as a matter of fact.
This guy's music, his band is pretty forgettable, but his girlfriend with like the big hair,
Yeah.
very nice. They're in a hotel, and
I have beautiful girl. He cannot afford. Very
I
nice.
have beautiful girl. He cannot afford. um, and in the very least, I don't get the vibes. This guy's like 40, dating a teenager, so they seem about the same age, like young adultish, right?
Speaking of
And
which,
the-
I just read today that Channing Tatum, who is 45, is now dating a 24-year-old.
45.
Yeah.
He looks 20. Well, no, but when he was in his 30s, he looked very young. But wow,
I mean,
45.
He's got to
Damn.
be up there, though, because like I think the first thing I saw him in was the first G.I. Joe movie in like 2009.
Oh shit, he was in that.
Yeah, he was the star. He
Yeah.
played Duke.
Yeah.
And that was 16
So-
years ago, so he's got to, and he wasn't super young in that movie either.
No. Maybe it's just that he often plays dumb guys.
Yeah, it could be.
21 Jump Street, actually, really funny movie.
So Rockerman,
Rockerman says, "Hey, I'm gonna catch up to you. Order me like this and this." Oh, because a bellhop
I
at the
think
hotel that they're at asks for his autograph.
I think he orders like a 6-pack of Corona and 2 of something else.
It's something odd. Yeah. 6-pack of Corona.
It was something dumb like that, and I'm like,
Oh, maybe they weren't going to a bar. They were going.
I think they were going
hang out
to
somewhere
because
you can't get that at a bar. You can't order a 6-pack.
No,
They're
yeah,
going
no.
to a
He
party,
specifically
yeah.
asked for a 6-pack of Corona and 2
You're right.
of something else. So I think they were just going to a party.
I got the vibes he was trying to just ditch on paying for his own alcohol, but he's writing this, and nobody in the last like 40 years actually dresses like an ancient, like, fancy bellhop. So
Yeah.
right away, I'm like, this is a disguise.
Hey now, hey, who was it?
And I worked at a
Rob
fancy
Schneider.
hotel.
Rob Schneider was dressed as a bellhop in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
That is fair. So,
Maybe in some hotels in the U.S. they still
in the U.S. maybe that's
they
still a thing.
they still make
with
them
like the
dress
lapels
bellhops.
and the little hats.
Yeah.
And so this chick has like a short, straight, like blonde hair. It doesn't show her face. It's being mysterious. And he's like, "Oh, so you're a big fan, huh?" And she's like, "I'm your biggest fanatic." And that doesn't trigger any red flags for him. And he's like, "Oh, ha ha ha." And he like is finished writing whatever. And she tases him.
Tases him, and as he does it, immediately white noise static flashes on the screen. And I'm just
and he
like,
passes out, and she puts him on the
luggage trolley, and
the little
then-
trolley thingy. Yeah.
and then pushes him out the window.
Yeah, so she runs down the hallway, and what would have been her plan if the window was off of the ground? So it's like one of those like windows that go from like floor to like ceiling.
Yeah.
I've never seen one of those in real life, but conveniently they're everywhere in movies and hotels. If you've ever noticed, either jumping into or out of them. I guess she would have just like thrown him through the window. I don't know, but he did.
Yeah, She threw him and the trolley out the window, which I thought was hilarious because later on, when Sarah and her partner question his girlfriend, she mentions that he was talking to a bellhop. And at no point does anyone put two and two together there. Wow, he was found dead on the ground with a crushed, like, luggage trolley.
Or they don't talk about their suspicions out loud, but there is an aggravating level of, there's no immersion to let the viewer believe that they're actually homicide detectives.
That they're actually cops. Yeah.
At all. In fact, every time it shows a cop scene, I'm like, oh, right. Even though there's a lot of scenes at the station, with one, there's a stone cold looking motherfucker who's grinning at everyone, and it enters slow motion as he like is handcuffed and he beats the shit out of some cops, like axe handle style. And he grabs a gun and she pushes her partner out of the way who's going to like shoot him and reaches out with her like bracelet hand. And he slowly flips the gun upside down, looks panicked, and then like shoots himself. And nobody around is wondering.
No one questions it.
Did you just use X-Men powers on that guy? Because you stood with your hand out for like a good 5 seconds. Nope. Nobody goes, huh, that was weird.
More like 30
it just happened
seconds.
So fast. For the viewer, it's 30 seconds. You're telling me nobody saw like Jean Grey like fucking make this guy shoot himself? And indeed, then police pile on him.
Get out of my head, Charles.
They even say he's got a gun. He's got a gun.
Oh yeah, and the precinct, like when this happens, like all eyes are in the precinct.
There's like
are on
15
this guy.
people around.
Yeah,
and
none
of them saw Jean Grey. Mind powering this guy. He even like stops and like looks afraid as like he shoots himself. So I'm like, did she do that, or is the cuff evil?
The Witchblade knew that she wanted to stop the guy, and so it intervened and made him do that thing, which I've never known the Witchblade to actually have like psychic
I was going
powers.
to ask, so the Witchblade is psychic? Okay, so right away I'm confused because I'm like, okay, so the Witchblade makes you. And then to answer the viewer's questions, conveniently, there's a dark-haired guy waiting for her at the bottom of the precinct when she's leaving. She goes down the stairs and he's like, telepathy, telekinesis. By the way, what started as me liking this guy quickly turned throughout the episode. I learned to hate this fucking guy.
So the guy
we meet this guy 5 times. Go ahead.
The guy that you're talking about is Ian Nottingham, who is a kind of frenemy of Sarah Pizzini. In the comics, he's actually kind of a badass.
I could imagine. And he seems to have a glimpse beyond the veil. Like he understands there are mystic powers and forces at bay, and he seems to know what the Witchblade is, right?
He does, yeah. He used to be an MI6 agent, or an MI5. MI5. Yeah, it's MI5, yeah. He used to be an MI5 agent, and in the comics, he's actually British, so I was surprised to hear an American accent here.
Yeah, I was going to be like, wow, he's covering up his accent great if he's British secret agent.
Yeah, he's formerly MI5. He worked for a time as Kenneth Irons, who we don't see in this episode, but he is in the show, who is the kind of the original like main villain of the comic book series. He worked as Kenneth Irons' bodyguard for a while, but ended up splitting away from him because he was only working for him because Ian Nottingham was part of this like ancient order that was designed to like watch over the Witchblade. And once he figured out that Kenneth Irons was like trying to like take the Witchblade power for himself, Ian Nottingham stopped helping him and started getting in his way and became more allied with Sarah Pizzini.
My damn cats be knocking things over and being a brat.
Oh no.
He wants attention. He does bad kitty things. If he did good kitty things, I would give him attention, but no.
There's one bit where throughout the episode, Sarah Pizzini's like hand is like shaking. It's her Witchblade hand. It's like shaking.
This happens a few times, but yes.
One time, someone comments to her about it, and she's like,
It's when they first arrive at the crime scene.
yeah, she's like, this other cop is like, notices this and is like, too much caffeine, Pez, which I guess people call her Pez in the show. And my initial thought, well, what she actually says was, or not enough, am I right?
Or maybe not enough. As she awkwardly hides her hand in her pocket, like a drug dealer, like hiding their pipe or something. Like she looks so fucking guilty whenever she hides her hand.
And in my head, I kind of auto-completed it to, actually, I'm a raging alcoholic.
Actually, I'm a raging alcoholic, and these are I'm going through the alcoholic withdrawals right now.
Yeah, I'm getting the DTs. Well, and indeed, Yancey Butler, who plays Sarah Pizzini, one of the big rumored reasons for why the show was canceled was because she was a raging alcoholic and was apparently a difficult person to work with.
Oh. Well, that's sorry to hear.
Yeah. Hopefully she's better now. I've seen a recent photo of her, too, and she doesn't look like someone who's still an alcoholic. And just what I mean by that is, like, it takes a toll on your physical appearance over time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that doesn't look like she's gone through that. So maybe she got sober eventually.
But she doesn't get sober in this episode. What ends up happening? She's talking to this Ian guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, telepathy, telekinesis, the hidden veil. There are things that you do not understand and interplay between powers that you cannot fathom. And she's like, bitch, what are you talking about? And he like disappears. And he does that like 5 times in the episode.
Sarah, the line between insanity and majesty is razor thin, and you are teetering on the edge of it constantly.
And she's like, dude, can you actually tell me something important? And he smoke bombs and like disappears. There's even one time, again, she's a cop with a gun. There's even one time this motherfucker somehow broke into her apartment and is like waiting in her kitchen, and she pulls a gun on him, and he's like, put that down. These trivialities go beyond mere discussion or some such. And he's like saying some dramatic shit. And she's like, can you make it any more vague? And I'm like, thank you. I mean, hanging a lantern on it doesn't make it better, but...
I was just going to say that's literally just the writers hanging a lantern on the fact that, like, this guy just speaks nonsense. And then they do it another 2 fucking times.
One time he does his monologue, and he's not even talking to anybody. The POV just switches over to him, and he's talking in front of a fireplace, like stroking, like, a fancy, like, medieval chair.
You know what would have been amazing in that's the final scene, or not the final scene, but one of the last scenes of the episode.
Yeah.
You know what would have been fantastic is if they had just gone whole hog with it and had him holding a skull with a big glass of red wine as he's like laying on a like chair.
Shirt like going all the way down like this, or shirtless, and there's a bear rug.
And everything is connected.
And like
and he's just like, what is a man but a miserable pile of secrets?
The window is open and you just hear thunder going off.
And the only music is a you know what? It would have been more palatable if they just went all fucking out, and they went all out and just did that.
Yeah.
There's one time he calls her and she's all like, oh, how did you get this number? Oh, like blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, what, you're just calling to let me know? And he's like, I'd prefer to do it in person. And she hears footsteps and he like hangs up and he's like, because I prefer face to face, blah, blah, blah. And then he talks for 20 seconds. And as she turns around, like he disappears. And I'm like, this show is very artsy and ethereal.
How did you get this number? There are There are forces at play in the universe that transcend mere telephone digits, Sarah.
Also, the yellow pages still exist. um so like once per episode is fine, but it's like, what are you trying to tell us by having this? And 20% of the dialogue is Sarah's inner monologue.
So the girlfriend of dead Rockerman speaking of phones, gets a phone call on her cell, and
seemingly this person on the other end, a woman, is trying to talk her down from a ledge.
Because she's like, oh, I miss him so much, I can't live without him. She's gonna like jump off the ledge, but then the person on the other line
they're static.
They're static, and you start hearing like words encouraging her to do it.
It's kind of like, hey, no, don't do it. Stop, don't stop, don't stop,
don't
stop,
can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop, don't stop.
And then, so she throws herself back, and then simultaneously, all of a sudden, Sarah's
in her apartment. And by the way, Enya is playing, or something. Sorry, royalty-free Enya is playing.
Yeah.
Enya, oh, yeah. So
Sarah is falling back.
I'm not kidding. I was laughing at this part because they're kind of like connected, because she's like looking into the case or something, and Enya's like playing as she's like, finally I'm free, and shows the gladiator's hand like run along the grain.
That was a thing in TV at this time, and this show really reminded me of that. Between this and watching,
this was a blast of its era. This was like what's the word I'm looking for, a time capsule for
this very
what
specific
we didn't miss from early 2000s.
Yeah, let me tell you, I will never ever miss the era of having constant like shitty like acoustic like rock music playing in the background,
soft rock playing in the background
of every fucking scene. Because like I said, this show like really reminded me of that.
It did. It kind of beamed back, and I was like, wait, this isn't just this show.
No, every show was doing this at the time. Even shows like Buffy and Angel were doing that shit too. Smallville was doing that. Like it was a staple of like hourly TV of the time.
And I was hoping that somehow she was using Witchblade powers to like save her or something. And then
also, as she's falling back, which we find out she falls back onto her bed, she's got this stupid like white noise static around her that is
I hated that. Yeah,
the source of the villain of the episode's powers.
So, right, I forgot that she prays to the static gods for 24 hours straight. So here and there, we get glimpses of a girl watching the news about the death, and then sometimes just static, a girl like twirling her hair. And then one time when they're going to
her eyes right up close to the TV,
and it zooms into like goth like makeup, the very subtle inner cat's eye, as it zooms in, and she's like right on the TV as per my background here. Yeah. And it's like, okay. And then we cut to the remembrance party.
And if you think this is something that is going to be explained by the episode, you are wrong.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's vibes. There's vibes. We're going off vibe. Like the whole episode is just vibes. It's like a feel. It's like an art project, right?
We just be vibing over here.
The writers were certainly just vibing. Don't worry about it. What the episodes aren't 22 minutes. They're how this is an hour block. Holy fuck! Like doing your homework like on the bus.
My legally acquired copy, 100%, I swear, pinky swears, was over 45 minutes long. And I felt every single one of those 45 minutes.
I stopped halfway through thinking it was almost over. I shit you not, because I'm like, it's been about half an hour. And it was like 45% done. And I'm like, what? I could not believe there was more coming.
We have to fill out 45 minutes of screen time, but we've only written 22 minutes worth of page. Oh, let's have another. Okay, we'll insert 2 more scenes of Kenneth Irons saying some cryptic bullshit,
and 3 more scenes of her lying on her bed or the couch with an inner monologue. Oh,
am I the Witchblade, or is the Witchblade really me?
Am I the Witchblade?
Are we one and the same?
Is the Witchblade kind of a bitch blade?
Or are we different?
Or are we different?
But are we the
same? What is a man but a miserable pile of secrets? Hey, stop.
The monologues in the show are like not much more sophisticated than that, honestly.
They're not, no.
There, forces exist that teeter on both the edge of darkness and the inner sphere of life itself. Forces just waiting to cross the transcendental barrier into this world, and only the power you wield on your wrist, that ancient gauntlet, can stand between them and total dissolution. I think what I said was honestly better than what was in the episode.
Honestly, it does. They're really going off vibes and trying to be deep with it. For some reason, she puts up with this criminal guy, like stalking her, showing up randomly, breaking into her apartment.
What did I call it last week with Spawn? Vapid goth philosophy.
So if you called it vapid goth philosophy,
this is even worse.
Boy, howdy, does this actually beat the, because at least there's something to be said with Spawn's, like, you know, he's on a rooftop, like beside a gargoyle, lightning strikes, and you're like, oh shit, something's going to go on. But no, he's just talking to himself for like 3 minutes. At least there's like an inner turmoil there, and what he's saying sounds cool. Like it's actually written by like a poet. This is, you and I can monologue probably a better episode.
This is the crap I would have written when I was like 16. And indeed I did.
Don't you'd write better than this.
Maybe.
So, oh god. Oh, there's a pawn shop guy. No, he's not a pawn shop guy. Sorry, we're completely forgetting a side character. So a guy that works at like the mystical arts version of a pawn shop. He's probably got a monkey paw. He's got a bunch of ancient blades, right? He's a dude with like bleached, like blonde, like Chad
I thought
Kroger
he was in the
hair.
basement of the police precinct. Because immediately
well, there's a commercial. Like it shows him with a commercial, right?
I remember that, yeah. I just I thought it was in the basement of the police precinct.
Oh, like it's very close by?
Because immediately, like after the guy like turns the gun on himself, Sarah goes down some stairs, and that's where she runs
Talks to Ian,
and then goes into this guy's like...
I thought it was just time flipping.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, you know what?
Who cares?
We're thinking way more than the writers. We're putting more effort into, maybe it is. Maybe it's literally, it's like, imagine walking up the stairs and seeing a bunch of cops in the office and you're like, whoa, sorry, I'm just looking for like a cool sword. And they're like, downstairs and to the right. Okay, cool, man. This guy seems like his business would not do well.
I was sent here by a man
at the bottom.
I was sent here by a guy named McLeod.
Oh no, we like that guy. This guy reeks of like, you might buy like a bad replica for like $200 and it will like break, or you'll buy like an indestructible chosen sword forged out of meteorite by like an immortal from like 1,000 years ago. And there's some convoluted shit. Doesn't the pawn shop guy, isn't he like, hey, I've got like this email contact. This is 2002, folks. I have this email contact who says that the cuff is like priceless or something. Like, did you follow that at all?
No.
Wasn't that weird? Like, and he calls her. And by the way, apparently Ian and this other guy just fucking call her or hang out or show up at any fucking given time of the night.
Trying to figure
Because
out
he calls her and wakes her up when she's asleep, and he's like, "Hey man, I got an email from that guy, and he says that the Witchblade is like, I don't know, like priceless or something."
I'm trying to figure out who this guy actually is because I remember
Oh,
he's
you
like
mean in the comics?
no, in the show because there's he's like hitting on her or something, and she's like, "Oh, I
And
have
she's like,
two rules for dating: never cops." And he's like, "Oh, and what's rule number two?" And she's like, "Never cops."
never. Is that what she was saying?
Yeah,
Never, because it's like this guy's definitely not a cop, or is this? I'm confused. I thought it was a commercial, or is he like requisitions or what's it called? No, because he had like a shop. I'm confused about who it is. Maybe it doesn't even matter,
it
but
probably doesn't. It says on the Witchblade wiki that he is a collector of trinkets and talismans. Okay, I guess that's a job.
well, you know, he's got like a mystic shop, right?
In the basement of the police precinct.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
Anyway,
So
they trace the call.
there's a part where she's like, "Here, I need you to take this from me," and he's like, "Really?" And she gives it to him, and he like passes out in slow motion as Enya plays in the background, and
yeah, she tries to give him the Witchblade bracelet, and he takes it. And throughout this entire scene, there's like shitty, like acoustic, like soft rock playing in the background as I
trying to
mentioned
be
earlier.
dramatic.
Yeah,
As like lightning cracks
and
through the window or something.
and strikes him as he falls through a vat of chemicals, and it is then able to tap into the Speed Force.
Yeah. And it's because lightning struck him at the same time he fell into a vat of chemicals.
Yeah.
I don't make the rules.
Yeah. He falls over when he tries to take the Witchblade bracelet, and she's all like, "Fuck, dude, you didn't have to be so dramatic about it. Jeez, I'll take it back then."
Yeah, she gaslights him into. She's like, haha, very funny, tricking me into thinking that it would. And I'm like, lady, you know it's fucking weird and like fucking with your head. And you're hiding that it's magical by pretend.
Right, because she goes there because she wants this. She sees the commercial for his shop. Right. Okay, I'm starting to piece it together now. She sees the commercial for his shop, and it gives her the idea to take the Witchblade there, and she's like, "I want to sell it." By the way, that reminds me, so much of this episode is about her being not understanding the Witchblade, and like people telling her like about the Witchblade, but like
almost like it feels like episode 2 or 3, right?
That's where I was going with this. This is the 16th episode of the show. She should have at least had some of this figured out by now.
I forgot that this was season 2, episode 5 of season 2, right?
Yeah.
Like Siege said, 16th episode. And when I closed it and saw the folder it was in, and it said SSN 2 EP05, I was like,
this feels like
that wasn't episode 3.
This, yeah, I was gonna say this feels like the 3rd episode of the show.
So it's like, why? How much of the previous episodes were having the Witchblade explained to her? Also,
what the fuck
explained?
What the fuck did we do during the entire first season of this show then?
Like, why isn't she like being a fucking superhero and like jumping out of windows and transforming mid-fall and like landing as like, well, other than budget, landing as like super Witchblade Sarah, and like, and indeed, there's one fight where it kind of changes or like whatever. Man, that's not enough for season 2,
no.
y'all. So, anyways, as they're looking for let me try to sum up the middle of the episode.
Well,
They're looking for the killer. They go to his funeral show, right? They're saying, "Hey, relax." By the way, there's a third guy that's a potential romantic interest, which is her partner,
yeah.
who's must be brand fucking new to the force.
He is actually. He's a new
because
detective.
he has these existential dread about being like, what? This is fucked up. Like, this dude was doing fine. He falls out of a window, and then like his girlfriend kills each other. Like, these are two people that had like normal lives, and now they're just fucking gone.
To be fair, her partner Jake is, at least in the comics anyway, he was new. He was recently promoted.
I get
detective.
the feeling he's new with this. It's just so tropey of dialogue. It's so very dry and stereotypical dialogue, and there's no feeling behind any of it. And she's like, "Well, that's the job."
Well, the dialogue in this show is quite bad, and as is the delivery. What is something he said that made me laugh? So they're like speculating about like whether these were murders or suicides.
I remember what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
Sarah thinks that it was a murder, and her partner is just like, even if you're wrong and it was a suicide, this blows.
That's when I was like, give the writers an award.
Oh, another hilarious thing is one of the many scenes where Ian Nottingham is just like monologuing. There's like a face that appears in a fire in his
and he says father or something like that.
Father.
Brother.
Father. It's just so terrible.
He says father, and he turns to it, and presumably that's the spirit of his father, the previous host of the darkness,
watcher of the Witchblade,
or watcher. That's right. This guy's watcher.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the? Can you guys make up your fucking mind what this show is about? For the love of God. And as cryptic, the cryptic shit got to me. It bothered me so fucking much, man. And Sarah pointing out how cryptic it always is, and her being like, "Oh, I just want answers." As she's having nightmares on the bed. I feel like I've watched 2 seasons of this just from one episode
in 45 minutes. Yeah.
And yeah, I was like, I physically aged watching this.
We meet therapist lady because
meet therapist lady after we get a glimpse of a crazy girl like watching Sarah and her partner, and it's just like, oh, that girl, that's the girl that's like flipping her hair, like coiling her hair, that was like Static Girl or something. Then we meet her therapist.
We meet therapist lady because they trace the call on dead Rockerman's dead girl woman.
In minutes before, within the hour of Rockerman's girlfriend dying.
Well, the person that they traced the call, and the person that she was on the phone with was her therapist.
Yeah.
Because Sarah grills her about it. She's like, well, did you know she was like, yeah, I tried to keep her on the phone. Well, I used my other telephone line. I like that she had to specify that.
I used my other line to try to contact
emergency services. And Sarah's
like... And this is the first thing that's suspicious, because she's like, well, and did you? And she was like, oh, no, I couldn't get through. So you just gave up?
Yeah, she's like, did you know that? Did you know that that she had jumped, that she had killed herself? And she delivers this line in like a acting quality on par with The Room, where she's like, so Sarah asks her, she's like, well, did you know that she had jumped? And she responds with, not until you just told me this morning.
She did say that weird, didn't she?
She said it like someone like from the fucking room. I shit you not. I actually went back and listened to the line a second time. I'm like, why was that the take that the director of the episode went with? Did they only have one take?
Yeah, I was going to say, you're giving them a lot of credit thinking that they had multiple takes here. And well, wouldn't you know it, the third person this episode, somebody notices Sarah's hand shaking.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, nice watch or nice bracelet or nice jewelry or whatever. And she's like, oh, thanks. And she's like, oh, prolonged stress of having to deal with cases, blah, blah, blah. Here's my card. And if you need anything about Sarah or if you need anything from me, just call.
And as Sarah's
like,
about to leave, therapist lady is like, be careful in the world out there. And Sarah is like,
Thanks.
Thanks.
I will.
Okay. And kind of awkwardly leaves.
Yeah, be careful in the world out there. Because sometimes when we gaze into the abyss gazes back.
Yeah.
Like, okay, thanks.
So that's paraphrasing a quote from Nietzsche. And
she paraphrases it wrong later in the episode.
And I remember saying to you on Discord earlier that, wow, only this show could take a Nietzsche quote and make it sound dumb.
Yeah, and I'm not the biggest fan of him. I think he's the king of saying a bunch of bullshit that doesn't matter. Come at me. But like at least you can apply those quotes to sound kind of like I am very smart. And only 2001's Witchblade could make me go from quoting using a Nietzsche quote. Man. And it was like that didn't even fit. I guess it's because she like deals with harrowing like murders all the, I don't care. We're spending way too much time on that. Anyways, I thought the therapist lady was hot. But maybe I'm biased.
She's even hotter when she, spoilers, turns it out to be the killer.
So we find out that when, her hair's back and she's in a suit, she has her glasses, right? But when she goes home, she turns on Linkin Park. And no, Linkin Park's too. She turns on...
Linkin Park was around at this time.
Linkin Park is almost too... Like that's too new metal. She would turn on like not the Cranberries.
She would put on Don't Speak by No Doubt.
or maybe a Zombie by Cranberries.
Or OTEP.
There we go. Or who was that chick that had like the crazy follower that like tried to send her a bomb?
Bjork.
Yeah, there we go. Actually, I don't know enough about Bjork's music to but it's not Enya playing in the background. That's the important part.
That guy ended up actually committing suicide.
Yeah, in this video.
I saw the video.
So did I. Something I didn't need to. Folks, we're from an era where there was Russian YouTube, and it was called Live Leak. Not actually Russian YouTube, but also kind of, yes. And let me tell you, if there was something filmed and put on the internet, it was there. And I have many regrets.
Let me tell you, the sound he made after he pulled the trigger is a sound I will never forget. And I've only seen the video once, and it was like 2 decades. He did not
pass gracefully into that. Also, he was burned? Was he covered in... Why was he bald? It's not a great...
Yeah.
Did he like burn himself? Why was he bald and covered in blood?
Kids, we're from the era of rotten.com.
Where your friend would be like, check this out. And link you directly to
like a person
a browser
beheaded with a knife.
Or chopping their own. Apparently it's fake, but couldn't convince mortified teenage me that the Hatchet Olympics were yeah, man. Watched some fucked up shit when I was a kid.
Man,
Wash
Witchblade
it
is
away by watching Witchblade from 2001.
Witchblade is taking us back to the wrong parts of
The wrong-
2002 is what we're saying.
And you know what? I'm starting to think that there's not a right part of 2002.
I don't know. Halo was pretty cool. I think Halo was a pretty cool guy.
You know what? Halo was a pretty cool guy, and he did kill aliens and stuff.
He blows
And
up
he wasn't
aliens.
afraid. And he doesn't afraid of anything.
And doesn't afraid of anything.
I don't even know. So we're met with the Cure lady, and it's revealed that it's therapist lady.
I like how
And she's like listening to Cranberries, like messing her hair up, putting on like eyeliner.
she like rips her like white suit off and then puts on like a long black dress and like a corset and does like goth makeup, and I'm like, hello. But I do find it hilarious that the show actually treats her like gothing up as like a supervillain costume change. Going from like white suit to like black dress and corset.
And when she was in her goth outfit, I'm like, now put the glasses back on.
There we go. That would have sealed the deal.
That would have switched my.
She doesn't have any.
It was she alone was close to making me go, well, maybe you have my attention now. Episode.
She doesn't have any tattoos or piercings though, so I'm not fully convinced by the goth transformation.
See, I actually don't think that tattoos and piercings make goth. I think that they do necessarily make punk. But not alone does tattoos and piercings make. But I also grew up with like everyone and their dog having tattoos and piercings.
Right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, and nowadays, like those, like the looks are kind of intertwined at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what like modern goth nowadays is kind of a mix between like goth, punk, and like metal.
Or putting on a band shirt that's black and like messing your hair up. There's a lot of there's light versions of things. There's like punk light.
Putting on a Burzum t-shirt. Even though I would bet dollars to donuts they have never fucking listened to Burzum in their lives.
That's right. And who are we but not gatekeepers of what? Well, I'm mixed on that, because if you have a band shirt, that implies that you are familiar with or at least enjoy the workings of. I would never go, oh, you like them? Then name 3 songs, because I can't tell you the titles of.
I saw way too many Burzum t-shirts in like the 2000s and early 2010s.
Oh, really?
A band that hadn't been around at that point for like 2 decades because Varg Vikernes had been in jail.
Yeah.
I saw way too many of those shirts, like way too after the fact, for all of worn for these people to be fans of this like infamous like black metal band.
How did that make you feel?
Especially since you could buy Burzum t-shirts at Spencer's Gifts.
Oh, Spencer's was like the Canadian Hot Topic.
Well, and indeed, I find it funny, actually. There's a mall, Swanson Mills, on the mainland that has both a Spencer's and a Hot Topic in it, and the stores look almost identical.
Amazing. I didn't know such a thing was possible. We live in the timeline where both of those are still in business. That's the most shocking thing to me.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I actually go in to Spencer's every now and then to like look at the hats and sometimes the shirts.
That Hot Topic, actually no. I got at a Hot Topic in Washington State. I got a seat belt, a green Power Ranger seat belt. Those belts with like the seatbelt buckle on them. That's
a pretty rad.
That were in like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
which I still wear to this day.
That's a rad one. Yeah, that's one of the cooler belt buckles for sure.
I remember used to have a job where I had to tuck my shirt in all the time. And so like people would see my belt and every now and then someone would comment on it and be like, "Hey, that's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers." I'd be like,
You're
"Yes, it
goddamn
is."
right.
You're goddamn right.
You're goddamn right. Every once in a while, I'd find a cool one. The coolest one I ever found was a big metal Sonic the Hedgehog belt buckle.
Oh, sick.
And the Sonic in it, and there were rings on the outside, and the Sonic part actually span. So there was
Oh,
a
nice.
disc on the front that span. But the problem is because it just sat inside of a thing, you couldn't really open it, clean it, and then like lube it, or so it would. So after like a month, instead of spinning freely, it would just
I'm just imagining John Cena's spinning world title belt, where like the WWE logo would spin.
not quite as cool as that, but not quite like like 14 inches wide, but still pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Legend.
What the hell's
John
going
Cena.
on the show? Oh, Goth Lady sits down and starts communing with the static gods, and it's nighttime,
Yeah.
right? And it implies, because there's a scene cut as she goes all close to the TV and is like, what does she say? Don't stop. She starts like repeating, like, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. And then it cuts to like daylight.
Don't speak the words
Don't
that
speak.
you're thinking.
Wow. Yeah. For anyone wondering, which is probably nobody that listens to us, Gwen Stefani was in a band called No Doubt, which is pop, not quite reggae. What? Well, no. How do I ska? There we go. Pop ska, but not really ska. I don't know. There was a lot of popular.
Let's see what Wikipedia describes them as.
You know what? All right. Google AI. What genre of music was No Doubt? It says pops up reggae. Strong disagree
So do I.
with you there. Strong disagree with you there, Google.
I also disagree, but then again, I don't like reggae.
Genre ska punk, ska pop rock, new wave, alternate.
Reggae. Yeah.
Alternative rock was such a catch-all. Every fucking like band in the late 90s, early 2000s was alt rock. Anyways, this is the episode of alt rock, people. If you don't know what genre you're thinking of, it's alt rock.
Apparently, No Doubt is back together.
What?
It says years active 1986 to 2004, 2008 to 2015, 2024 to present.
Well, fuck.
Apparently, Gwen Stefani is a hardcore Christian.
Huh.
I saw some chick on TikTok felt the need to do a video about how all the things that make like every
She pops
note
up for me.
every No Doubt song was like pointing to the fact that like Gwen Stefani was like a hardcore conservative Christian.
Why does she look nothing like how she used to look? What the fuck? Am I crazy, or does she look like was she replaced by a different person?
Wow, she's 55 now. I mean, I guess it makes sense because like I don't know, I'm 40 and like her heyday was like when I was like 10.
Why does she look like a completely different human being?
Surgery.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
Plastic
not
surgery.
bad, but I'm just like this person's unrecognizable to me.
So anyway,
anyways, she's
somehow-
listening to Spider Webs by No Doubt. There we go.
Somehow they figure out that that therapist lady is actually Static
Her partner
Girl.
does a background check on her, and she's like, there's this many suicides and this many from like girls, and wouldn't you know it, 3 of them were seeing 17 of them were seeing therapists, but 3 of them were currently seeing one therapist, at the time they had committed suicide. Do you want to guess who? And they're like, fuck, lock and load. And they go to go to breach her office, kick down the door, and when you know it, she's not there. She's in her apartment. Ooga chaka, ooga chaka, going up to the static.
And Sarah ends up going back to her own apartment, and
for some reason.
And Goth Girl is there.
Nighttime now. There's a lot of time jumps that don't make it obvious when there's time jump.
And Goth Static Girl is there.
How does everyone know where she lives?
And I had to laugh out loud because she was literally, we see a shot of her lurking in the shadows, and she's literally wearing a like Spirit Halloween like hooded cloak.
That it didn't show her. So when they raid her apartment earlier in the day, she's not there, and it zooms in on the floor.
Yeah.
And there's different outfits, right? And she has like 3. There's like a bellhop, and then there's like her goth outfit, and then there's her like professional like therapist like outfit or whatever. Only seeing the blonde wig did I realize, oh, they're implying that the bellhop was her.
Oh yeah. I had figured it out at that point,
or maybe I figured it out before that. But but why? Like there's no resolution, which is I think
and here's the thing,
more than even the bad writing.
Here's the thing: is like, why is she killing these people? The episode gives the episode never tells you.
To get closer to the Witchblade, because the voice is in her head. Okay, so let us. So she's waiting for her in her apartment, and she knows how to throw her voice with her Spirit Halloween cloak. And all spooky villains that hide in the shadows, they all need to learn how to throw their voice. I don't make the rules, right? And she freaks out, and she's like, oh, it must be nobody. She falls asleep. She wakes up. She's hiding in her apartment a freakishly long amount of time. By the way, her fridge slides open and has like a see-through front, like a pop fridge at like a convenience store. And I'm like, I've never seen that before in someone's house. And she grabs a water bottle.
It's all the prop team could get their hands on that day.
She not even a real fridge. She takes a water bottle, unscrews it, takes one sip, sits down, and puts it on the floor. And I'm like, what is... And the camera zooms in on it, and she's got like something else on the floor there. And I'm like, she can't even afford a side table. Why did the director show us that she's putting and I'm like, oh, maybe the bitch is going to sneak up and put like a pill, because she's indirect. She's sneaky. She kills by misdirection and stuff.
Oh, right? So
she just fucking tackles her middle.
So you thought the putting the water on the floor was going to be a Chekhov's gun type situation.
Well said. And yes, little did I know, spending 2 minutes showing her take the water out of her fridge, drink one sip, and then put it on her floor for some reason.
And indeed, a competently written and shot movie or TV show, that would be a Chekhov's gun moment.
It's almost like I was expecting, almost like I inserted my own expectations were too much.
Yeah.
So that has nothing to do with what's happening. She starts taunting her, throwing her voice around the apartment. And there's a scene where she's like, come out, show yourself, bitch. And she's pointing the gun around. And then out of nowhere, like a vampire, she like just flies across the room comically and knocks the gun out of her hand and tackles her.
They fight.
As bad as the choreography is in this scene. Choreography is on this scene. Let me tell you. As bad as the choreography is, kind of dig these two chicks, trying to pin each other down and pulling each other's hair and stuff. But then something fucking weird happens. She chants to her static eldritch horror.
And the floor starts splitting open, and there's static underneath.
Witchblade's head like starts, and so I'm like, is this a vision? Is this real? And then it is kind of real because it shows goth killer lady jump over the crevice that has the static in it and try to push Sarah in it.
Mm-hmm.
And indeed, she goes to fall in it, but then she just hits the ground and it's gone. So it was an illusion, obviously. You guys had like a CG budget, but no,
But you
couldn't pay the writers more.
But you couldn't afford an actual fridge for her apartment. You just had to get like the beer fridge that we happened to have on hand.
I feel like that's the staff like drink fridge, right? She has 2 daggers. Don't know why she didn't use the daggers before, but she has 2 daggers, and she stabs them down diagonally, straight down beside her arm. Sarah doesn't move her arm for some reason.
Yeah, she like crosses
and then
the blades.
she crosses them as if to like pin her hand down so she can't witch cuff her, or as if to like
I think she was going to cut her hand off. Which
they do some back and forth, and she gets kicked
bigger
in the head.
She would need much bigger blades for that. But she goes to like.
Also, you need momentum. You need to chop. What is she going to do? Like scissor her?
She goes to like
as if that's going to cut her hand off.
To cut her hand off, but she stopped because the Witchblade gauntlet activates.
It activated and turned into an actual like medieval,
a full on like medieval.
By the way, in this, it doesn't look like a symbiote.
No,
it looks like a knight's like plate. A plate mail gauntlet.
Yeah,
segmented like medieval gauntlet,
straight out of a Renaissance fair.
Mm-hmm. It's expensive and decent, but like not. I didn't get like symbiotic armor vibes at all.
Yeah.
I think they realized they can never go that route because that would be way too costly, both in CG and practical effects. So like, fair enough.
Plus, I don't think they were gonna be putting her like be almost naked on TV.
Shame. Bet you there'd be like 6 seasons if they did that. Like make her like her personality change a bit. Like half of her body's covered in like the stuff, and but that doesn't happen. And then they're fighting in the kitchen and throwing each other around. They're shit talking each other, and the crazy goth chick, gotta say, I'm a fan.
As they're fighting, the Witchblade.
This is so dumb.
So
if you were fighting, right, and you had a big heavy like metal gauntlet on, you already have metal on your hand.
Yeah.
So punching somebody with that would have more momentum and weight, correct?
So the metal gauntlet so the Witchblade goes from Renaissance fair, like a Knight's Tale gauntlet, to basically brass knucks in like the blink
like
of
a
an
stylized
eye.
Brass knucks. And indeed, there's no transformation sequence. It's the blink of an eye. It's a transition scene.
Everything in this show
at her hand,
is a blink of an eye. Like
we don't even know when it goes from day to night.
Like even when the Witchblade, the bracelet turned into like the full on gauntlet, that was just like, it
confused me. It happened like it cut to the goth chick trying to slice her hand, and then suddenly like, they don't even make a sound effect like whoosh, like as if it magically transforms. They just use a very quick transition.
It's just like, wait, did the editor like fuck something up there?
So many times. And so she goes to punch and suddenly her hand's different. I would prefer the whole gauntlet to punch somebody, but sure, this delicate, weird bracelet like knocks, and she punches her and she one-shots the goth chick and knocks her out.
I will say
would wager that the whole gauntlet would fuck her up more.
Absolutely. I will say, though, the thing that it turns into actually looks more like the comic book Witchblade.
Yes, it goes over the front and like kind of down her hand and then connects to her arm.
Yeah,
that was unique looking.
Over her fingers and her knuckles to her wrist.
And rather than just standard like rings on like brass knuckles.
Yeah, to me that
at least looked unique. It looks like they made that for the show.
That to me looks closer to the actual Witchblade. How her hand would look in the comics.
I wish they could have made the same show, but at least made it kind of look cooler, like spikier and like tinted colored instead of just literal medieval gauntlet. But yeah, whatever. At this point, that would not have made me like the show more, folks. Okay, so only resolution is left in this episode, right?
Yeah.
It cuts to the very proper glasses, hair back, almost unrecognizable woman. Or no, her hair isn't back. She's clean faced. She has no makeup, and she looks like a third completely unrecognizable person.
Actually,
her hair's down, but she's not goth. That's right.
Before you're talking about the scene where she's like in the interrogation room, right?
At the very end.
Before
oh my god, I almost forgot our favorite scene.
Our favorite scene.
Continue.
So we cut to another scene of Ian Nottingham in his
manor,
in his mansion. With
this is the fourth or fifth time he's monologuing, but he's not he's monologuing to Sarah. Don't get us wrong. But he's by himself.
He's by himself being like, I have spent all this time trying to prepare you for the darkness that is coming. Are you going to be ready to look it directly in the eye and have the strength of the Witchblade on your...
When evil comes knocking, will you answer the call, Sarah? As he looks up,
strokes
his
as he strokes his chest
hair and
he
chest and
looks up at a painting of like a bunch of different bearers of the Witchblade over the years, and one of them is like a painting of like her.
Is it?
At first I thought it was Joan of Arc, but as it kept cutting back to it,
I thought it was Joan. I thought it was implying that their incarnations, like, they look very similar.
Oh, okay. Could be, yeah.
Whatever. We're never going to... did I give away we're never going to watch or talk about this show ever again.
And then, hilariously, he looks into the fire in his fireplace, and he does the most hilarious shit. It's weird, swaying his hands back and forth over the fire.
But not in the fire, because it almost looks like he's going to plunge his whole body in it, just over top of it. like a fake, psychic trying to commune with spirits. And the only time I laughed in the entire fucking episode... there might have been like a fake laugh earlier, but I laughed so hard at this mystic, and we've already made memes on the Discord of it or whatever. Me, two Coors Light into a bush party, thinking I could talk to spirits.
And I was like everyone on ecstasy at a rave. And then shout out to our listener and Discord user, Big Damn Hero. He says, when Kit Harington goes to Burning Man, actually made me laugh out loud.
That was pretty... When Kit Harington goes to Burning Man.
So shout out to you, dude. You actually made me laugh out loud.
That was pretty good. Kit Harington goes to Burning Man. I don't know why that was so funny. It was just the acting with the very clear desire to not actually get his hands burnt. Reminds me of bush parties when people start getting drunk and jumping over the fire. Ooh, and pretending you're a wizard. Don't tell me you haven't been camping and been well, 3 Bud Lights in, and I can start to talk to the spirits.
I feel like that's more something you do when you're camping and have eaten a couple grams of... I
was gonna say that's more of a mushroom journey. So
from
after having consumed the only good thing that 2 seasons of Witchblade has to offer, we cut to the interrogation room of I don't know, somewhere. And without getting up, this woman who, kudos to the actress, she can look completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Makeup, am I right, man? But no, she's not wearing makeup. Her hair isn't down. I think she doesn't have glasses either. And I'm like, who's this bitch? And she's like, oh, hello, detective, without even getting up. And by the way, the whole time, there's like every character is talking about hearing voices. And like, are you crazy if you hear voices? Or are you one of the people that just admits that you're sane? Like dialogue like that. And there's
Yeah.
not really a questioning, but she finds out I'm not the one that killed Rockerman. And she's like, who did? Playing the open interrogation technique where you just keep letting the person talk.
And as soon as I figure out that this chick is like TV crazy, like multiple
So,
personalities,
she's
my
TV
eyes
trope.
rolled out of my head onto my floor and
Like
across,
a cartoon, they
and
came out
across
of your
the living
mouth.
room.
Like it, you know, in those old things, those like curtains that you pull down, but if you like pull down wrong and let go, they sling up and like spin like that. Your eyes go like a Rolodex, and then you open your mouth so far they like fly out of your mouth and roll across the ground.
Coolers
And then a
in
cartoon
grocery
pig
stores.
is like snake eyes.
Open face coolers in grocery stores have those.
Have
Those kind of shutters.
oh yeah.
Yeah, they you never see them during the day, but like at night, they get pulled.
Oh, I've
Pulled
looked
down.
up. The things you see in places when you actually stop and look around, but then you see a camera and you're like, you realize you're acting suspicious, and so you just keep going about your business. So she's TV crazy. Man, 2000s really tried to hold on to the multiple personalities being a mental illness thing, huh?
Yeah.
Anyone listening, there's no such thing. Not only that, multiple personalities, not only is it not real, would often, I don't know why, and it's pissed me off because I have friends and family with
Dissociative identity disorder.
dissociative identity, not dissociative identity or disorder, schizophrenia.
Right. Well,
And
movies and TV, especially in the 90s and the 2000s, conflated DID and schizophrenia.
yes, why? And indeed, the slur schizo would imply you have multiple personalities.
Yeah.
Or you're two-faced. Those aren't even the same.
I know.
Fucking 90s TV media. Anyways, hate that trope. I'm surprised that it even lasted that far. Whatever. People were still using slurs in high school back then. Maybe they still are now, and I just don't know. But so she acts, and not only that,
You hear them in the town I live in.
multiple personality. Fair. Sarah acts like multiple personality is a real thing, even though I'm pretty sure back then it was proven never to be a real mental illness. There is dissociative.
We already knew by then.
We must have. I feel like most real psychologists knew it wasn't really.
I'm not going to get too much into
things.
it. I'm not going to get too much into it, but
Yeah.
I was diagnosed with something around this time that's kind of adjacent to those particular disorders.
So you have the insider scoop.
Yes. So believe me, like we knew this was all bullshit even at the time. That's why I called it TV
like even
crazy.
a decade or two earlier, we knew.
Yeah.
But,
that's why I call
crazy.
it TV crazy. Yeah.
It's TV crazy. So she humors lady who has multiple personalities, and she's like, does this lady has a name? And the way she acts, it makes it seem like she's making up a name on the spot, and she's like, Moara or something dumb like that. And I'm like, okay. And I was already kind of like, not quite eyes spinning out of my body. But I was like, okay. And she's all like, do you talk? And it's like, oh, well, I just have glimpses into her life when she takes over. And I'm not sure if you caught it earlier when they had busted into her apartment. Her apartment is at a diagonally split so that one half is red and like black furniture and the other half is all white. Did you catch that?
I didn't know.
And it goes across the table, and her table perfectly aligns with the carpet and the way that the walls are painted, and the table's half white and red. So from the doorway, it's split diagonally across, and everything's immaculate and clean and like kind of like as if she's showing it, or it's like Instagram ready.
Yeah.
Right. As if she's trying to sell. And the other half is like bats and goblets and like No Doubt records and and goth stuff. And they didn't linger
That's
on
hilarious.
that. And I was like, they showed that shot for so little amount of time. I wonder if Siege even noticed.
I didn't. That reminds me of there was an episode of an 80s sitcom, Perfect Strangers, where where like the one character is like really like tidy and like organized, and the other one's really messy, and they're roommates. And so what they do is they like, and this became like a joke you would see in like
trope till the end of time.
Yeah, where they would literally like
is that where it's from?
It's from that. Yeah, they painted a line down the middle of the room, and we're like, this is my side and this is your side.
I didn't know that's what it was from.
I can't say with 100% certainty that that's the original place that like where it originated, but that is the first thing I ever saw it in.
Okay, interesting. Today I learned. What else? Are we missing any bullshit?
The bullshit. She's like, so why did Moira or whatever this personality, why did you kill all these people? And she's like, because they told me to. And she's like, well, who's they? She's like, they, them, the ones watching. Ooh. And then the episode
like,
just
don't you
ends.
Hear voices too? And Sarah's like, and then she turns to Sarah and she's like, is everybody that hears voices crazy? And then Sarah humors her. Don't humor crazy people, please, detectives. Humors her, and she's all like, sometimes I wonder about that myself, as if to like build a bond like with this person. But she's not playing good cop. She's
playing cop who wields mystical weapon that influences her behavior.
Who doesn't know how to act like a cop.
Anyway, and the episode kind of just ends. We just get credits. Nothing is resolved. I guess they caught the killer. We don't know why the killer was doing anything.
Because static.
Because static. What is static?
Who is static?
Who is static? Why is static?
Why is static?
Well, Cal, I think I know the answer to this, but Cal, you just caught a random episode of 2001's Witchblade. Are you tuning in again?
If it wasn't the bad dialogue, what started as a oh boy, here we go, blast to the past, like a nice nostalgia trip, very quickly turned into a bad time. Sarah is woefully boring, shockingly uninteresting. Somehow has no idea why she has the Witchblade and doesn't want to use it / doesn't know anything about it.
Even though at this point she's had it for like a season and a half.
The episode Ian is kind of cool, but then like the thing about cool, weird mystics that show up to guide the character or warn the character is when they do it infrequently. The dude like lives like within like he's constantly just in another room waiting to like surprise her. Everyone breaks into a room. There's little things here that could be funny and could become its own trope, like how easy it is to fucking break into this lady's apartment. Well, the fire thing is fucking like stupid and funny, but like, and I've said this before, and like I'm surprised people still like listen to us because it seems like people get angry when we don't like things, but like one or
random
two
people.
moments. Random people.
Are like regular listeners. The
Yeah.
the Lazor Comb
The
family.
OGs.
The Lazor Comb family.
The Lazor Comb family.
They understand.
If you can't grab me this far into an established series, oh boy, I would suffer not my enemies to watch season 1 and 2 of Witchblade.
Yeah.
So no, I would not tune in next week. How about you? You got more positive feelings?
Well, to piggyback off of what you were saying about Ian Nottingham always showing up to talk to Sarah, what was the fucking point of any of those conversations? What impact did it have on the plot of the episode? Nothing.
Except to leave Sarah going, what is it you want? What are you trying to tell me? I'm like, it's fucking, they might as well be dream sequences because they don't fucking matter.
Yeah.
It's almost more insulting than a dream. Oh, it was all a dream. It's almost more insulting than that trope because
Ian Nottingham doesn't factor into the plot of this episode whatsoever. He just shows up like 5 times to tell Sarah the line between insanity and majesty is razor thin, and you teeter on the brink of it with every waking moment. Like it's just like a bunch of scenes of him saying that to her and her being like, yeah, right. Anyway, I got shit to do. And then going off and doing something else.
The problem is it happens often and it resolves the same way. Her going, why do you keep, oh, okay, that's weird. Haha. But then it actually very much so does not affect the plot whatsoever.
Yeah. The plot the plot's not really resolved. Like, sure, we got the killer, I guess. We don't understand why the killer did a thing. What is up with the weird static? Is that ever going to come up again? I have a feeling it isn't, because this is a villain of the week.
Yeah. So she catches Static Woman, Master of Disguise Static Woman, who throws her what seems to be a pretty fucking successful career out of the... One would think she could stop and go, am I mentally ill? Given that she's a therapist, but
Sarah is a terrible cop. She's not a particularly interesting protagonist. Her partner...
The show barely reminds us that I kept forgetting that she was even a cop.
The pacing and the structure of this episode is terrible. Her partner, who is a big presence in the episode for the first 10 minutes, just disappears.
There's 2 scenes where he's in it and they have deep conversations, and then he just fucks off.
Yeah, he just disappears and is never seen again throughout the episode.
When the most interesting scenes in the show are monologues of other characters by themselves that have nothing to do with the episode, that's not a compliment to those actors.
No.
If the best parts of the episode are Ian monologuing by himself in his manner,
as
waving his hands over fire.
Burning Man does his Burning Man
look, I'm immune to fire. You remember when kids would do this, light a lighter and then move their hand over it and be like, that's the adult version of what's happening here. If that's the most interesting part in the 45,
the editing of the show is choppy. It's filled with and
to the point where we're confused about if she's visiting a pawn shop or if she's just going into the basement of the police station.
And this, it's filled with just bad, acoustic, soft rock playing in the background in every fucking scene, which is not just a thing with this show. It was a thing with TV at the time, but it was a thing that I had mostly forgotten about until I watched this.
That was an unwelcome memory unlock.
I went into this episode being oh boy, 2002, here we come. And this show just reminded me of all of the bad things about 2002. And I'm man, Maybe I'm glad it's not 2002 anymore.
Our rating is, we're glad it's not 2002 anymore, out of 10.
So I absolutely no. I'm not gonna watch this again. Oh, also the show just looks cheap, which isn't the worst thing in the world.
It's not the worst thing in the world if there are some aspects that stick out. Costuming, maybe. Overacting, maybe. Right? Funny, cheap sets. Something needs to stick out when everything's bland.
There needs to be something endearing. You can get away with things being cheap if there is something endearing about the show.
Well said, yeah.
And unfortunately, this show just doesn't have it. I never
not
really
only that, it's not even hateful. Like, you know how sometimes something has potential and it ruins the potential, and I'm angry about it? It's just...
Well, I'm kind of angry about this because I never watched this back in the day, but as I mentioned earlier on in the episode, was a big fan of Witchblade back in the day. So I am actually kind of angry about this because Witchblade deserves better, goddammit.
She does deserve better.
Maybe
we'll find out.
Witchblade deserves better than this. Anyway, that was episode 119 of the Lazor Comb podcast. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/lazorcomb, LAZORCOMB. Starting at the $5 tier, you get access to our bonus weekly Patreon exclusive podcast, the Super Lazor Comb Patreon Super Show. It's $10 tier, you get the occasional commentary track, and you get the ability to pick a show for us to review a random episode of on this very podcast. $20 tier, you get a bunch of other stuff, including the ability to pick the episode of the show. Maybe we would have felt better about Witchblade if we had watched season 2, episode 7. Probably not. By the way, this episode of Witchblade has an IMDb user rating of 3.6 out of 10. So even by this show's standards, apparently this episode is not very liked.
Oh, are most other episodes higher than this?
Most of them are around like 5s and 6s. So this one is.
I'm surprised.
This one, maybe we did just land on a bad episode. Who knows?
Who knows? Come and pay us to prevent this from happening again.
So if you want to get in on that, go to patreon.com/lazorcomb. Follow us on TikTok and Blue Sky. Links in the description. Join the Discord if you want to interact with us. It's the best way to do that. And if you're watching the video version, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Well, I think Witchblade deserves a do-over because in 2006, there was an anime that lasted 24 episodes that I watched and remember actually thinking it was pretty decent. I didn't watch this, but I watched the anime.
An anime?
And, yeah.
That's right, folks. We're doing it.
So, yeah, we'll be back next week with the 2006 Witchblade, or 2008 Witchblade anime. I watched it a couple of years after the fact because I didn't know it existed. I didn't know it existed until it just popped up on Netflix back in like 2011.
Oh shit! I didn't know it existed until I started looking for Witchblade backgrounds.
So I'm gonna hit screen share, as always. Share. Yeah, it has 24 episodes. So random number generator, one random number between 1 and 24, and here we go. Where it will stop, only the Witchblade knows. Lucky number 13.
13, folks. Lucky 13.
Lucky number 13, folks. Get it here.
Step right up. Give the wheel a spin.
A government agent tells that Masane is not a true parent, and she needs to get Rihoko back to her real mother. After hearing it, they run away and hide themselves. Nishida sends Nora there to capture Rihoko, knowing of her compatibility with the Witchblade, but Reina interrupts. In a fight, Reina kills Nora. That was very awkwardly worded. I feel like that was put through a translator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that must have been a translator.
That someone
Like it's technically English.
and not even like modern like AI translator. Someone put this through Babelfish back in like 2007.
Right? Yeah. That's a 2000s translator. Well, there we go, folks.
We'll be back with that. And until then, I have been The Siege, one of your hosts.
And I'm Calblade, your other host.
Thanks for listening. We will top cow you later.
Which blade? This blade.
That blade, not this blade. Maybe that blade.